Hey guys, hey everyone. We have Kristina Cornèr over here, is the managing editor of Cointelegraph. Kristina, why don't we just start off with you telling us a little bit about your background in the industry and like how you got here.
Sure. Thank you very much, Manu. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. I have actually two MAs, one in languages, that is in my opinion, a basis of every communication, and another one in political science, that is, well, the most fascinating theater of the current lives. But I actually a believer that technology is the future of the political developments as well as economic. So blockchain is one of the most fascinating technologies right now, and I've been working in innovative industries for years as a journalist, as a mediator of communications, and this was kind of a coincidence that became actually a big part of my life. And I've been with Cointelegraph for 4 years already. So
Nice.
Something that is considered veteran, I guess, role
Yeah,
in the crypto industry. Happy to continue being part of the community that is actually full of visionaries, people who want to make this world better. And this is really something exciting that that is happening every minute of me working in the space.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So like, from what I understand, let's keep this like an interactive session. So if any of you guys in the audience have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and then we can.
Yes, thank you, Manu. I will be happy with this to be useful for everyone. So whichever question you have, I will be happy to share my knowledge and experience.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I have a few questions myself. Excuse me. But I wanted to ask, like, being in the crypto space, it's so subjective and so like volatile. There's people making decisions based on news events and articles coming out everywhere. What's your stance on something like clickbait in like financial journalism and cryptocurrency?
That's a great question, and this is definitely a very big responsibility for every journalist in the space, especially for those who work at Cointelegraph, because we are trying to be the voice of the community, advocates of the community. It's not just, first touch stories that you can find in Bloomberg, CNBC, whatever. So for us, it's very important to filter those stories that actually have impact. It's not always simple, and we also make mistakes. But I guess, well, my secret here is that I'm always more interested in human stories rather than just, a headline that doesn't have any soul. And actually, our talk is called Role of Communication. I guess the role of communication is actually so important, just because while communicating with those who are behind every project, you can actually see which values do these people promote. What is their background that they want to make beneficial for the community? What is their message to the community? And then on the intuitive level, you can also see whether you can trust this person, this project, or is there something catchy,
shady, perhaps?
Yeah, shady.
Yeah, makes sense. And I also was wondering, in terms of monetization models now, we've got things like ad block, and the more and more developers are probably looking at online content in the blockchain space, and these guys probably have ad block installed as well. So in terms of monetization models, where do you see the journalism industry and Cointelegraph, or in general news websites, online publications heading? Because I mean, we are seeing subscription based models coming out, people saying $1 a week for a year, and you have other things like Brave with the pay the online content creators, you have influencers. So from your perspective, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I guess the diversity is actually key to successful evaluation of what should be your monetization model. like the more opportunities you give for potential clients as well as for the readers, the more synergy you can create between like clients are not just those who buy a banner. They also want to transmit that message to the community, to the target audience of every publication. So I guess, again, the role of communication, it's so important that a person, a project who wants to get published and the journalist to find a way where both parties will be valuable in their content and their messages will merge.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that in that way, you know, I feel like news publications need to have a sort of like they need to be on the community side in order for the community to accept it at all, especially in like something so decentralized as blockchain. You know, people from all kinds of thought processes.
For sure.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's cryptocurrencies, you have so much, you know, realistically, there's like a lot of, there's like shady stuff going on, as you were saying, like the scams going on all over the place. So for someone who's like new to the space and trying to find out what is a valuable, like, you know, let's say what is Bitcoin, why is it worth investing in? But also there's like 9,000 other cryptocurrencies. So like, why invest in any of these? When you're looking for authentic sources of information, what tips do you have in finding and like ensuring that, okay, like maybe this is worth like, you know, following, or is this guy just being sponsored by someone? Like, do you have any tips on navigating that?
Well, you know, I would like to say Cointelegraph, but actually it's not, I mean, it's not the thing that I would like to transmit to the community. I guess the most important thing here is like educate yourself. And again, the diversification of different sources of information is key for every person to create his, her own opinion on a subject. And more sources you use, more original sources related to data analysis, to researches, definitely help you to create your image. And at Cointelegraph, of course, we are trying to be as neutral as possible, but at the same time, always trying to find an angle that is bringing more value to the community, to good projects. Again, there are some formats where we discuss different market developments, but it's very important to understand that it's never investment advice in the end. So like we invite our readers to make their own research. We provide them a source, and actually with different channels. So it can be reading, it can be video channel, it can be audio channel, it can be visual consuming of the information, but we are just given an opportunity, and then it's always up to everyone to educate himself, herself, and decide for themselves, because in the end, I guess it should be something that you understand before, not only when you believe in something, you know, without understanding. Blind believing is, even though somebody says that like crypto is a sort of a new religion, I guess we should be very very delicate with the believing in something without understanding. We need to understand. It's a business, it's a science, it's a community. The more you are in the space, the more you learn.
Definitely. I mean, you can see the sort of tribalism on Twitter when it comes to the crypto space. But yeah, I mean, does that mean that, you know, like there are obviously certain tribes in this tribalism which are stronger than the others? So you have like the Bitcoin maximalists, you have the people who are Ethereum is the future, the ones who are looking at Solana and Polkadot. So does like the size of the community, you know, factor in when you're talking about, okay, what should we report on?
Well, we definitely try to consider the community as a whole, and even I would say that there are some discussions within the editorial of Cointelegraph whether actually we should call it community at all, because in the end we want crypto to be as universal as possible. Right. Why should we like close ourselves and call ourselves a community if we really want this actually to be a global technology? So there are some questions about that. And then of course, well, as every industry, as every, you know, humans are tending to create these groups. It has been present in the history of Homo sapiens since the cognitive revolution, when a language and communication tools were created like 70,000 years ago. So I guess it's normal. And then again, I would suggest that nobody should just blindly become a part of something without always be open to other things that are happening in the space. Educate yourself, open your eyes, and diversify your interests and your sources of information.
Fair enough. I just wanted to address something in the chat. Someone was asking whether there'd be a Q&A session. Feel free to ask your questions right now, and
yes, please.
We can take them up as they come. Yeah, don't hold back. So yeah, with blockchain, represents a lot of decentralization, a lot of trustless entities coming together and collaborating on something to a unique to the same goal, basically. So in terms of decentralizing and creating trustlessness, what aspects of blockchain itself do you see journalism adopting in the near to long-term future?
Well, already our team is 100% decentralized, and this is fascinating. It's a challenge, of course, because, well, we don't have a physical office where we can meet all together. We have a decentralized team that actually allows every one of us to look at the world that we are writing about through different eyes. And that is fascinating, because I guess sometimes we tend to look either through our eyes, or in general, business community is more Americentric than globally minded. And it's really very important, especially in the times when traveling is limited, to be able to decentralize different views that you get from the community, from your team. Yeah. So I think this is the more important thing. And then the blockchain in general has this wonderful, peaceful protest message in itself. And this is the key of decentralization. And of course, we are all in the beginning of this long, long way. But I guess the most important here is that we are trying to build something new that hasn't yet been a norm. So of course we'll make mistakes. We will have, I don't know, some issues with the other parts of the society, and it's totally normal. But what differs us from all the previous traditional industry is that we are trying to decentralize. We don't know how it will be, and till which limits we will decentralize our lives, our resources, technology, services, etc. But this is a wonderful time for experiments and a wonderful time to communicate about this new, exciting industry, also in a decentralized way.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's only fitting that we use the internet to promote the next thing, which is.
Can you imagine, I don't know, if blockchain appeared, well, it's not very much probable, but still, if blockchain appeared before, we had all these internet tools, etc. And then COVID pandemic arrives, and how we would communicate. And it's just exciting how we now can create this groups of people without even making them meet each other.
Exactly. And they don't have to trust each other in a lot of these cases as well. But yeah, I mean, so we have a couple of questions I have a question from Kostab here. So for the average investor, negative news about the crypto space plays a very important role in managing portfolios, since there can be sudden drops. What do companies like Cointelegraph do to make such news accessible to the general mass before it's too late to make a decision?
Well, again, we are trying to avoid giving advices on investments, and we are just journalists who try to report neutrally the facts that we find through our sources and share it with the audience. And then it's always your decision to to evaluate whether this is a good thing, a bad thing. Like I would really avoid, trusting journalism in terms of your investments. It's just a part of what creates your informational field. It's not the directions that are given to you. Then there are some tools in the market, like for example, Cointelegraph also has developed a tool that is called Markets Pro that is actually analyzing different trends, and based on the historical evaluation of how different assets perform according to different informational events. You can more or less evaluate what is happening now and how you can apply this to the future events. Again, this is not an investment advice. It's a sort of analysis of the historical events to make some evaluation of what may happen in the future. But I would say that avoid assumptions in any case, in everything that you're doing, not only in the investments field. And then also be ready that the result that you would expect may be the contrary of what you're expecting. And it's also okay. Again, I guess all the, professional investment advisors always say, like, never invest, your lost money or something that you can't allow yourself to invest, even if it's like 100% promising.
Right.
This is not what
income.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we have a bunch of questions actually from the audience. So Avinash is asking, if someone wanted to start their journey with learning about crypto and blockchain, what do you suggest they tackle first in terms of like someone who's completely new to the space and they want to learn about the technology, they want to learn about the space? Like obviously there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of history. I mean, it's only been 10 years or 12 years since Bitcoin launched, but there's so much that's happened. It's a very dense industry. So do you have any thoughts on how to tackle that?
Yeah, for sure. I would say there are three big parts of sources of information. One is, of course, like when you search for 101 content. We at Cointelegraph, for example, we have been investing a lot of energy and time into creating 101 content available for new buys. And we've been very attentive in what we are putting there. And I know that there are other wonderful sources of information for 101 content. Then someone is maybe more comfortable in like learning through a video. There is also video content on YouTube and on other platforms. There are podcasts. So this is like first part of that is of course important. Then I would say that it's also very important to find people with whom you can interact. And events that are now accessible online are actually an incredible source of information. Not only because you can listen to people who are in the space, but you can also interact with them, make new connections, network, etc. And then, of course, if you have someone in the blockchain space who is like your acquaintance or who is living in your town, I guess it's always great to connect. Not only because you can learn something, but also because like in a synergy of like your questions and your ideas and the questions and ideas of another person, you can actually make another step toward something that may be beneficial for both of you.
I mean, on the topic of educating people, do you think that more people will be educated when more people decide to learn more about it? Or do you think it'll come to a point where we won't have to know much about blockchain in order for it to be like at that mainstream level?
I guess it's both in the end, because of course there will be services that like are on blockchain and nobody knows that it's on blockchain. I don't know. Right. And especially if like an industry enterprise adopts some blockchain model, it doesn't mean that like clients of this enterprise actually know that, I don't know, that wine tracking is based on blockchain. But I guess it's just a human curiosity also to understand about new technologies. Like we shouldn't know how internet works in order to benefit of what it's given us. but at least like basic knowledge about internet and how does it manage to work all around the world is definitely, well, maybe not 100% useful, but it's definitely curious and it can give you a different perspective. The same with blockchain. And wanted to say something. Again, role of communication. Like, it's not only about education through available sources, but it's also communicating with people who can tell you, well, mainstream media, at least for now, for example, are very basic about crypto industry. And even like the best reports that you can see on like mainstream TV or mainstream media, well, they're using all these stereotypes about blockchain and crypto industry. So at least the first thing that you should do when you want to learn about crypto is to know which publications, for example, are representing crypto community, like Cointelegraph, the blog, Decrypt, CoinDesk, all this with different messages, but still working in the space. And those who are, well, digesting the stereotypes about the industry, that can be misleading at some points.
For sure. I have a question from Nikhil, which says, what role will the media play in making crypto regulation friendly?
Thank you, Nikhil, for the question. That is a very important question. And a very big debate in the end, whether crypto industry will get more compliant or whether it should be like,
rebellious.
Stay to the end. I believe that the future lays somewhere in the middle. Of course, we can't just ignore regulators. And again, regulators are also humans, so they are reading, they are searching for information, and the minimum that we can do is to provide them a source of information that they also can use for themselves. We are trying to build up dialogues with the regulators, not only to get some information from them, but also to maybe not to educate them, because, well, it's, educate them, but not through some ideas that we share with them. In the end, it's very important. And there are some wonderful regulators in the space. For example, Hester Peace, the SEC commissioner, we featured her in the last year top 100 of Cointelegraph, the most prominent blockchain experts. And when we revealed that, I guess she was ranked somewhere around 20 something on the list, and she shared it on her Twitter, saying that I'm eager to see the moment when there will be no regulators in any top 100 blockchain list.
Right.
And I guess this is very important. And it depends on the person, of course, but regulators' role is not to become the newsmakers of the industry. Regulators' role is to be a mediator between regulation and new industry, and they should be listening to what is happening in the industry and think about those who may benefit of this new industry. And this is what we are also, of course, trying to communicate to the regulators with whom we are in contact.
I mean, that's great. Very comprehensive answer. So, Anupam asks, what's your favorite moment in crypto so far? I mean, you said yourself it's been 4 years with Cointelegraph, and assuming you're a veteran now in the space. What would you say was one moment that you could pick out and say, that's the one?
Oh gosh, that's a very difficult question, but a wonderful one. I would say that I would definitely not, highlight the moments of, price jumps or something that big positive news that brought us also more readers because everyone started to get interested in crypto. Honestly, the most fascinating moments in crypto for me are when I meet a person who is passionate about what he's doing, and like honestly, this is the biggest treasure of the industry, people. Even though we are talking here about code and technology, but behind every code, behind every technology, there is a person, and the community full of ideas, sometimes even crazy ones, like really, I want to make this world a better place. This is fascinating. And I guess no community now has so many people with visionary ideas and who really want to change completely the imaginary order that we have in our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about communication in these spaces, it's like innovative new technology. People like the online publications and the sources of news today are the ones who are gonna sort of sow the seed that's gonna become the future of what blockchain is. So Priyamvada asks, are you disappointed with any aspects of the cryptocurrency industry? And if you had to change one thing or right one wrong, what would it be?
That's a great question. I don't think that we could change that, but I guess this is again related to the human nature, and it's not always positive and optimistic and sustainable and humanistic. So I guess the thing that actually disgusts me sometimes in the crypto industry is this like pure desire of getting rich that is definitely present. I don't think that it will be leaving the space, like no. But I guess what I would really like to see is that any like one Lambo narrative is always going in parallel with the real value of the blockchain technology, what it can bring to the earth, to the people, to like revolutionize the services that we use, to solve the problems that traditional industries can't solve, to help with the climate change, sustainable development, etc. Hope that I answered the question.
It works. So this isn't a question, but Diptesh wants to let you know that they really appreciate Cointelegraph for the Cryptopedia section. He was going through the website and he really liked it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I'm really happy, and I will pass through to my colleagues. We've been working a lot on that section. Yes. And
awesome stuff. So there's a little bit of a sensitive question, but has any government or regulator asked Cointelegraph to pull down an article?
Well, pull down, maybe not, but we had some unpleasant situations with regulators. When, for example, we were maybe too enthusiastic about some crypto development in a country,
right,
and we called it like a crypto-friendly hub.
Right.
And I remember that we were asked to pull that crypto-friendly formulation once. And honestly, I was very concerned about that situation. I remember that very well. I guess it was some South Asian country. Because in the end, I don't know why being friendly to something can be considered a sin. Again, this is all about stereotypes about crypto, but some governments definitely do not want to get called crypto friendly, even though they are like experimenting with blockchain technology and trying to see what they can do with the in the industry.
I'm sure, like, that's one of the biggest challenges, being like a source of information in this space. I mean, dealing with regulators and having to maintain that integrity through all those situations. A lot of invisible forces at play, as they say. What else do we have here? So in your experience, when there is a cryptocurrency boom, what are the changes you see in terms of how things happen for the online publication space?
Well, it's a great opportunity, of course, because
Cointelegraph.
every time there is a crypto boom, it means that we have more people interested in learning more about the blockchain and crypto. And this is a great opportunity for us as an advocate for the community to transmit more messages related to the positive impact that blockchain can make.
Right.
It can be about adoption. It can be about like people who work in the industry. So we definitely are trying always to grab this opportunity to diversify our content, our topics that we cover, and show more positive developments that are happening in the blockchain space.
Right. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Because I just have one last question.
Really enjoyed all the questions. Thank you very much for your questions.
No worries. I mean, the people in the chat are like pretty excited, like a lot of activity. But yeah, basically, I just wanted to ask, with news in general in the financial sector, you know, there are articles that can carry weight, and like you can tell probably before, you know, it goes out that, you know, this might cause money to shift, like, you know, from one place to the other. And it's not really about, you know, whether it's true or not. I mean, obviously you've gone through the checks of integrity and you know it's right, but then there is a weight to publishing these articles. And like, how do you maintain, you know, the ability to do that, and also, like, you know, making sure that, you know, there's journalistic integrity, you're looking after the company's best interests, and you have to put out this piece, like?
Well, it's always a preliminary research. It's always a lot of communications within the team. It's always trying to discuss all the topics and pitches that are maybe not clear. And the more people are involved, the more we can be, you know, serene in terms of our evaluation. So we are always trying to communicate about everything that is inspiring some questions or doubts. So I guess in the end, it's all a team effort. And again, the role of communication. So communication is key. We are human beings who are social animals, and our language is the one that gives us an opportunity to create very complicated messages that are sometimes misinterpreted by our counterparts. And there are so many different languages actually in the space that are used, and I would highlight that it's like English is not the only language of blockchain industry, and it is just very important to be attentive what you want to communicate, how you want to communicate, what's your message, and how would you like your story to be read.
I mean, in that regard, under the topic of the multiple languages, how do you deal with, like, okay, there's news happening in China, the news being reported in Chinese. Is there information that's being lost in translation, or do you have systems to make sure that doesn't happen?
We have a Chinese version, among others. So this definitely gives us a great opportunity to work on site, to use Chinese sources, etc. Though I would say that it is quite difficult with China in general. I wouldn't say that it applies only to the blockchain industry. It's about their stance, like political stance, economic stance in general. They are not very open, and they are not wanting to in participating in every discussion that is happening. Right. So it's usually a very minimalistic approach with them.
Sure.
But
so,
again,
like other languages and stuff, like, you know, like this Spanish, I'm sure is Korean, like, you know, all of these languages. Have you ever faced issues where something was lost in translation, miscommunicated?
Yes, for sure. But again,
Yeah.
We are not perfect, and like we can make mistakes, and important is to admit that. And if there is some correction request, we are always trying to understand what happened and what was the reason, and to make conclusions for the future. So of course something gets lost in translation, but also it's both a challenge and an opportunity to have a decentralized global team.
Awesome stuff. We have some more questions from the audience, if you don't mind.
Awesome. A great pleasure.
So, Priyamvada asks, what's your stance on NFTs?
Well, of course, NFTs are great. It's one of very interesting some very interesting applications, use cases. I think that we are still on the very first step in actually exploring what can be NFTs applications. I know that it made so many headlines in terms of celebrities, NFTs. Of course, NFTs in art may be something the most understandable for mainstream audience. But honestly, I think that NFT as a technology can be applied to so many useful services that people are using, I don't know, ticketing and tickets for events, tickets for transportation,
things like that.
So I guess we are all just in the beginning, and it's fascinating to see how NFTs trend are developing already. If we just compare months in this year, I'm also really fascinated in seeing how different sports englobe NFTs. Well, we saw it first in soccer and Formula One. Now we see other sports that are starting experimenting, and that is really exciting.
Definitely, a lot of sponsorships happening in the sports space these days as well.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, a lot of merging of those industries. Let's see. Cryptocurrencies have seen, this is from Costa, since cryptocurrencies have seen huge gains over a short time and attracts investors looking for easy financial gains, how does this affect the crypto space, and how can people be more educated? I think you answered this slide a little bit earlier, but if you could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Costa. Well, I guess that it's very important to not only to focus on this kind of stories, and of course, something that excites investors also excites the industry in general. But we need always to make sure that when we talk about blockchain, it's not only about getting some dividends. It's also about other applications, and this is fundamental. And if you are part of the industry, you definitely need to educate those who are asking you about this, that it's not only about money. And if you are a journalist, definitely your responsibility is to show the spectrum that blockchain is developing.
For sure. We have another question from Costa as well, which is, does crypto pose a threat to fiat? And will we see a large wealth transfer into the crypto space? And he also asks, can crypto work in unison with fiat to improve financial freedom in general?
Oh, that's an interesting reflection, of course. My stance on this is that there is always more benefit in synergy than in exclusion. Sure. It's actually funny. Here in Italy, we have a lot of manifestations of Novax, those who don't want to get vaccinated for COVID. And I found out last week when I was blocked by a procession of manifestants that, at least here in Italy, Novax are also against e-payments. So they are advocating for fiat, for cash payments. And they are, well, not only against digital currencies, they didn't know even what they are talking about, honestly, digital currencies, cryptocurrencies, but they also were against credit cards and paying with cards.
Right. I see.
I guess every, exclusive narrative is definitely something that is not bringing positive developments to the humanity. Like, we always need to think about synergy.
Sure.
What will be the future of the currency? Well, I definitely can't tell, and nobody can tell whether we will go to Mars and we'll have a currency, or maybe there will be no currency at all, and it will be sort of a socialism. I don't know. We never know. In the end, money is something that was imagined by people. Like, money is something that we created. Definitely. So, and if we created something, it does mean that it can go whichever direction we would like this to go. But I definitely think that, well, crypto is here to stay. It's not just a phenomenon that then will be won over by fiat. Not at all.
No, for sure. I mean, it comes back to the tribalism conversation we were having earlier. It's like, you have people who are fully Bitcoin maximalists, but then, I mean, just Bitcoin is probably not going to push the space forward. We need like interoperability and more projects working together and all of that. I think that's pretty much all the questions from the audience and me as well. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for being here, Kristina. It was really great talking to you. It was great talking to you.
For moderating this talk. Thank you everyone for your questions and for your attention, and good luck with the hackathon and with everything that you will be launching in the space.
Thank you so much, Kristina. It was lovely talking to you.
For me too. Thank
you. Thank you so much, Kristina. Thank you, Manu. That was a great session. Thank you so much for asking your questions in the chat. That was great. Our next session begins at 4:30. It's a workshop with One Inch Network. You guys till then can go to the networking tab and chat with anybody who's present at the summit. You can also at the stage down below, you can download the agenda and check out the sessions you want to attend. So we'll see you in about 20 minutes. See you. Thank you so much for attending.
Thanks.